Hello and welcome back. If you have ever stood in your kitchen wondering what should I cook today, then this video is for you. Meal prep and planning is one of those simple habits that has completely changed the way I cook and manage my home. Just a little planning and preparation on a Sunday saves me hours in the kitchen throughout the week. And today I'm sharing my top 25 meal prep ideas that you will almost always find ready in my kitchen. So let's get started. One of the biggest time saving meal prep ideas in my kitchen and always at top of my list is making homemade ginger garlic cubes. I've been doing this for years and it has made everyday cooking so much easier. Simply blend ginger and garlic with little to no water, add a tablespoon of oil to help retain its color, freeze it in ice cube trays, and you will have ready to use cubes that stay fresh in the freezer for up to 2 to 3 months. Along with the ginger garlic cubes, I also like to prepare ginger separately. I simply finely chop it using my electric chopper and freeze it in small portions. It comes in handy for so many things, from making a quick cup of chai in the morning to preparing breakfast, curries, or dishes where I don't use onion and garlic. I also keep a small container in the fridge for everyday use while the rest stays fresh in the freezer for up to 2 months. Similarly, I also like to keep chopped garlic ready. You can freeze it just like the ginger or keep a small batch in the fridge for everyday cooking. It's perfect for recipes like pasta, stir fries, fried rice, or a quick vegetable saute, and it saves you from peeling and chopping garlic every single time you step into the kitchen to prepare a dish. Another meal prep essential that you will always find in my kitchen is my homemade chai masala. Honestly, once you start making your own, it's very difficult to go back to the store-bought versions. The flavor and aroma are just on another level. I usually make it in small batches so that every cup of chai tastes fresh and fragrant. For my blend, I use half a cup of fennel seeds, around 15 to 20 green cardamom, cinnamon sticks, and black peppercorns. The beauty of making it at home is that you can easily adjust the spices depending on your family's taste and even the weather you live in. During the colder months, I like to add a little extra black pepper and cinnamon for that extra warmth. I simply dry roast all the spices until they become aromatic, let them cool completely, and then grind them into a fine powder. That's all there is to it. You can store it in an airtight glass container, and just a small tablespoon is enough to transform everyday cup of chai into delicious cafe-style masala tea. It's one of those little homemade spice blends that I simply can't imagine my kitchen without. Another pantry staple you will always find ready in my kitchen is curry leaves. Ever since I moved abroad, I have started storing them in different ways because we only get them occasionally from the Indian grocery stores and they can be quite expensive. One of my favorite methods to store them is dehydrating them. So after washing the curry leaves, I make sure they're completely dry because any moisture can reduce their shelf life. Then I simply spread them out on a microwave safe plate and microwave them for about a minute. You can also sun dry them, but I have found that especially in our weather, there is always a chance they may develop moisture or mold before drying completely. So I personally prefer the microwave method because it's quick, easy, and very reliable. The second method I use is freezing them, especially when I buy a large bunch. I simply place a few curry leaves into an ice cube tray, fill each compartment with water, and freeze them. Sometimes the leaves may change color after freezing, and that's completely normal. They do become slightly darker, but it does not affect their flavor. The important thing is to make sure the leaves are fully submerged in water before freezing. These frozen cubes stay fresh for months and can be dropped straight into curries or dals whenever you need them. Another meal prep habit that has saved me countless time is freezing soaked dals, rajma, and chole. If you are someone like me who forgets to soak rajma or chole on time, this simple trick can be a real game changer. So, when I'm doing my weekly meal prep, I soak them as usual, wash and drain them well the next morning, and then portion them into freezer bags before freezing. So, whenever I need them, I simply thaw them for a few minutes or soak them in warm water and then cook them just as I normally would. It saves so much time and means I never have to skip making my favorite dals or chole just because I forgot to soak them the night before. Another homemade staple you will always find ready in my kitchen is homemade ghee. Since moving abroad, making ghee from unsalted butter has become my favorite way because, unlike in India, the milk we get here is usually homogenized, so it doesn't form that thick layer of malai on top. During my weekly meal prep, I usually make a fresh batch using 2 large blocks of butter that usually lasts for 2 weeks in my home. Homemade ghee is such an integral part of Indian cooking, and once you start making it at home, you will always want to keep a jar ready in your kitchen. Fresh coriander is something I use almost every single day, so I always like to prep it as soon as I get home from the grocery store. Over the years, these are the two methods that have worked really well for me. For the first batch, I simply store the whole coriander in an airtight container lined with kitchen paper. This absorbs any excess moisture and keeps the leaves fresh for much longer. For the second batch, I wash it thoroughly, dry it completely using my salad spinner, and then finely chop it before storing it in a separate airtight container. Having chopped coriander really means I can simply grab a handful while cooking without having to wash and chop it every single time. It not only saves time while cooking but also helps the rest of the coriander stay fresh for longer because I'm not opening the main container repeatedly. Using this method, fresh coriander stays fresh in the refrigerator for up to 2 weeks, making everyday cooking process so much quicker and easier. Another meal prep habit that I always try to include in my weekly routine is making homemade sprouts. Green sprouts are packed with nutrition and are such an easy way to add extra protein and fiber to our everyday meals. So I simply soak green moong or chana overnight and then transfer them to my sprout maker for a day or two. I especially like using this transparent sprout maker because I can easily keep an eye on the sprouting process without having to open it again and again. For me, meal prepping isn't just about preparing ingredients, it's also about having an organized pantry. It plays a huge role in making everyday cooking quicker and completely stress free. Whenever I'm planning our meals for the week or after a grocery run, I always take a few extra minutes to refill my pantry jars, lentils, pulses, spice boxes, and other everyday essentials. It saves me so much time because everything is easy to find and always within reach. I also prefer using transparent containers for my pantry because they make it so easy to see exactly what needs refilling while planning my grocery shopping. There is no guessing or no duplicate purchases, and I always know what I already have at home. A well organized pantry not only makes the kitchen look beautiful but also makes meal planning and cooking so much more efficient. Another simple habit that has become part of my weekly kitchen routine is dry roasting a small batch of peanuts. You can easily roast them in an air fryer or in a pan, and once they're ready, store them in an airtight container. They're perfect for adding to breakfast, salads, chaats, trail mixes, or simply enjoying as a healthy snack. Having them roasted always saves me a few extra minutes during busy weekdays. Along with the roasted nuts, I also like to keep a jar of homemade nuts protein powder ready. It's incredibly versatile, packed with healthy fats, plant based protein, fiber, vitamins, and minerals, making it a wonderful addition to everyday meals. To make it, I simply take 1 cup of almonds, half a cup of walnuts, half a cup of mixed seeds of any choice, and 2 tablespoons of chia seeds. I dry roast everything for a few minutes until the nuts become lightly aromatic and then allow them to cool completely before grinding them into a fine powder. I also like adding this homemade mix to our morning milkshakes, smoothies, porridge, overnight oats, or even homemade laddus or energy bites. Sometimes we also mix a spoonful into our chapati dough for an extra nutritional boost. It's such an easy way to include more protein, healthy fats, and nutrients in our everyday diet, especially for growing children and busy families. If you're enjoying the meal prep ideas so far, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It will mean a lot. One thing you will almost always find in my refrigerator is fresh homemade paneer. Once you start making paneer at home, it's really hard to go back to the store-bought version, as it's soft, fresh, preservative-free, and tastes so much better. Along with making regular paneer, I also love experimenting with different flavors by adding herbs and spices directly to the milk before curdling it. Some of my favorites are mixed herbs, cumin seeds, chili flakes, fresh coriander, and mint leaves. I then curdle the milk using lemon juice or vinegar and prepare the paneer as usual. Having these different variations ready means I can quickly add them to wraps, sandwiches, salads, stuffed parathas, or even enjoy them as a healthy snack. It's such an easy way to add variety to everyday meals without spending extra time in the kitchen. Another homemade favorite that I love keeping ready in my refrigerator is this protein rich sandwich spread. It's fresh, healthy, and comes together in just a few minutes. I simply blend homemade paneer, thick yogurt, fresh coriander, mint leaves, green chilies, a squeeze of lemon juice, and a few everyday spices like chaat masala, black pepper, black salt until smooth and creamy. It's perfect as a sandwich spread, a dip for vegetables or crackers, a wrap filling, or even as a healthy salad dressing. Having a bowl of this ready makes preparing quick breakfasts, lunch boxes, and evening snacks so much quicker. Another freezer hack that I simply can't do without is keeping homemade Pudina chutney ready as freezer cubes. Whenever I buy fresh mint or harvest it from my garden, I make a fresh batch of chutney and freeze it in ice cube trays. One little tip that really helps is to avoid adding salt while blending the chutney, as it helps slow down oxidization and keeps the chutney looking fresher for longer. These cubes stay fresh in the freezer for up to 2 to 3 months and are perfect for sandwiches, chaats, wraps, marinades, or simply serving alongside your favorite kebabs. According to me, prepping your weekly meals is only half the job. Storing it properly is just as important. Once the freezer cubes are completely frozen, I usually transfer them into freezer safe containers or zip bags, label them with name and date, and place them back in the freezer. This not only keeps my freezer organized but also help reduce food waste because I always know exactly what I have and what needs to go first. One meal prep idea that has saved me countless hours in the kitchen over the years is keeping a basic Indian gravy masala ready. It's one of those preparations that makes cooking on busy weekdays So much easier because the most time consuming part is already done. I simply cook together onions, tomatoes, ginger garlic, and a few basic spices until everything is well cooked and the oil starts separating. Once it is cooled completely, I portion it into freezer safe containers or ice cube trays. Having this gravy masala ready means I can prepare a variety of dishes in just a few minutes. Whether it's dal tadka, a dry vegetable curry, paneer, chicken curry, or any everyday Indian meal, the base is already prepared, making cooking so much quicker and easier after a long day. It stays well in the refrigerator for several days, and in the freezer, it lasts for months. If you're planning to store it for even longer, you can also add a tablespoon or two of vinegar at the end to help extend its shelf life. If you would like the detailed recipes and the exact measurements for all these meal prep ideas, I will link all the videos in the description box where I have shared each recipe step by step. While doing my weekly meal prep, I always like to prepare a few healthy snacks as well. Having something nutritious ready means we don't automatically reach for packet snacks whenever we feel hungry. One of our family favorites is this crunchy murmura trail mix. It's quick to make, light, filling, and perfect for midday or evening snack. I usually combine puffed rice, makhana, roasted peanuts, mixed nuts, poha, seeds of my choice, and a few dried curry leaves. You can easily customize it with whatever nuts and seeds you enjoy. To bring everything together, I prepare a simple tempering using little ghee, cumin seeds, mustard seeds, turmeric, red chili, and cumin powder. Then I season it with black salt, chaat masala before mixing everything together and air frying it for another couple of minutes until it's perfectly crisp. It can be stored in airtight container for days and is one of those snacks that everyone in our family enjoys. It's healthy, delicious, and perfect whenever you are craving something crunchy between meals. Another healthy snack that I love keeping ready is these crispy air fried chickpea sticks. I simply boil soaked chickpeas, season them with a few everyday spices, and blend with fresh coriander, and then air fry them at 180 for 6 to 7 minutes until they are nice and crispy. They're packed with protein, incredibly satisfying, and make a wonderful snack for both adults and kids. It's always a big hit in our home. Whenever I know I have a busy week ahead, I always try to prepare a few breakfast premixes. It makes our mornings so much smoother, especially on school and work days when there is very little time to cook from scratch. One of my favorites is this homemade instant upma premix. I simply dry roast the semolina until it's lightly golden. Then I prepare tempering with mustard seeds, urad dal, chana dal, grated ginger, green chilies, curry leaves, and coriander. I cook everything until the moisture has completely evaporated, then mix it with roasted semolina, dried onions, and salt. Once cooled, I store it in an airtight container where it stays fresh in the refrigerator for several weeks or about a week at room temperature. Whenever I want to make upma, I simply add hot water, cover it for 5 minutes, and breakfast is ready. It's so much healthier option than the ready-made packets and just as convenient. Similar way, I like to prepare homemade instant poha premix that I love keeping ready in my kitchen. Just like the upma premix, it saves so much time on busy mornings while still giving us a fresh homemade breakfast. I prepare a simple tempering with ghee, mustard seeds, curry leaves, turmeric, and a few everyday spices. Then gently mix in clean, dry poha without washing it. Once everything is well coated and completely cooled, I store it in an airtight container. When it's time for breakfast, I simply add hot water, cover it for a few minutes, or quickly cook it in a pan with little water. In just a few minutes, a warm, delicious breakfast is ready with hardly any effort. One of the biggest parts of my weekly meal prep isn't actually cooking. It's preparing all the fresh fruits and vegetables that I know we will be using throughout the week. Spending just a little time washing, drying, and storing everything properly saves so much time every single day. For example, I always wash berries, store them in the berry container so they're ready to enjoy straight away for breakfast, smoothies, or as a quick snack without having to wash them each time. I also like to prep vegetables that usually take longer to chop, like beans, cauliflower, or carrots. If I already know what's on our meal plan for the week, I prepare them in advance so cooking dinner becomes much quicker and less overwhelming after a busy day. I often get asked whether chopped vegetables lose their nutrients, and in my opinion, if storing them properly in airtight containers help you to prepare fresh homemade meals instead of relying on takeaways or packaged foods, it's absolutely worth it. Another little trick that has worked really well for me is storing green chilies. I simply wash and dry them thoroughly, then keep them in airtight container with a clove of garlic. They stay fresh in the refrigerator for up to 2 weeks without developing mold. And finally, one thing you will almost always find in my refrigerator is a batch of homemade idli or dosa batter. I love making different variations like millet or ragi dosa batter, and I usually ferment it using the yogurt setting on my instant pot. I really hope you found these meal prep ideas helpful and they inspire you to make your own weekly kitchen routine a little easier. If you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one. Till then, take care, bye bye, happy homemaking.